Welcome back to Live with the Roxy. Before I get into anything else, I just noticed something for the first time, so that is what we will start with. Mark Ellis is here. We've got a lot to talk to him about, but Mark, what they don't know about is the fact that your thing says Wake Forest 2.1 GPA. Is that real?
I think that's being nice, to be honest with you. Yeah.
Wait, you're so smart, Mark. Tell me, you had a 2.1. Were you not a good student?
I was a good student in stuff that I cared about, but like really, I don't look at a 2.1 GPA. Let's say it is 2.1. For the sake of argument, let's say that through my 4 years at Wake Forest University, the Harvard of the Appalachian Mountain region, that it's 2.1, right? So okay. I look at that as a young man who goes to school, no idea what I wanted to do. When I was 18, no idea what I wanted to do other than play in the NBA. So I get to school, and that's what a liberal arts college is for, is just figuring out what exactly you want to do with your life. The problem is that once you do figure out exactly where you want your life to take you, you still have all these other courses that you need to pass in order to get your diploma. So
is 2.1 passing?
2.1 is passing. Yeah, you can pass with the 1 point. I think. I mean,
well, I don't think. Okay, think about it realistically for a second. A 3.0 is a B, right? Or is that B minus?
It sounds like a B. It sounds like something that would be framed in on my mom's fridge if I had a 3.0.
I got a 2.5 with a C, and okay. I think that passing just not failing.
I look at a 2.0 as sort of like the line of demarcation. So like on Rotten Tomatoes, I look at a 2.0 as 60%. As just barely fresh, right? So
you do get credit for it if you have a 2 point, because there's a point where you don't get credit for the class. So a 2.0 means you get credit for it.
I think the fact that you know so much more about this illustrates that I do in fact have a 2.1 GPA if I'm being nice to myself. I'll never forget one of the greatest feelings in all of my schooling life was I was taking calculus again and in college, and the morning of the final exam, I woke up and I did some math that morning. I did some calculating in my head, and I figured that all I have to get on this final exam is like a 17% to pass the class. So just the way that each test was weighted, all I had to do was get 17%. And so I'm blowing through the test, and like I got down to a point where I was like, I think I got this right, at least 25% so far. And I just felt this calm wash over me. I didn't care if I got a D minus or not. I just wanted
to fill in the rest. You like let the rest go.
Yeah.
Damn.
And so I would love to see what my transcripts were. I'll do this someday. I'll have a couple drinks one night and I'll just like figure out exactly how I did in communications classes, because that's like what I wanted to excel at, because by that point I kind of knew I wanted to do stand-up. So like I want to see how I did in speech classes and communication theory, all the economics and biology. I knew that wasn't going to be for this idiot. So I just want to see how I did in my chosen profession, in quotes.
So communications is the major of stand-ups. I wouldn't have been able to figure out what it was. That I think that was so fucking annoying about this, and that's the way that I'm going to phrase this. Is my sister was just here with me, and I was asking her for one of my old interns was asking my help with a resume, and I like fucking suck at that stuff because I don't apply for jobs like that. No. I'm not a job applier. I mean, I have a resume and it looks like here are my credits and the films and the digital, whatever. Like, I don't know what a resume is supposed to look like. So my sister's corporate. So I asked her, I'm like, hey, at what point do you put your GPA on? At what point do you not? And she said to me, she's like, why don't you know the answer to that? Don't you have to send out your resume? And I said, I believe that I had like a 3.8. I don't think I've ever been able to share that information with a single person. Nobody has ever fucking asked me about my GPA. Not one job, not one audition, not one time. Nobody cares I went to college. Nobody cares what my GPA was. Nobody cares what my major was. These were life decisions that I made. I worked so hard. I tried so hard in things. Nobody's ever even fucking asked.
Do you know why?
No.
Okay. What is your background? Your background is Hollywood. It's La La Land. Nobody cares. I'm from Virginia, and I think that's interesting. Nobody cares where you're from, what your family's like, how smart or dumb you are. They just care if you can show up and do your job on camera and look semi-competent. And that's really how you do it. And there is no better life, in my opinion, than being able to wake up and not have to worry about a resume. Roxy, I'm 41. I don't have a business card. Can you imagine when you're a kid and you said, hey, you're going to grow up and you're going to have a nice, successful life. You're going to be in your 40s and you're not going to have a business card. You'd be like, oh my God, am I dead? What's happening? I don't have a business card.
Yeah. I feel like the business card for me, I still see those where sometimes people, you see this with actors, they have the picture on it. It's got their social media handle on it, like all of those things. And it's kind of like, you're trying a little too hard. Like, I think that this is actually not the look you want to have. It's just got your face on it. You're just handing me a little piece of paper. It's kind of like a graduation picture. Like, that's what it is. Those are the business cards I get.
I had a business card. I made myself business cards when I first moved to LA and I was like doing open mics and stuff like that. I had a business card that probably had a couple of pictures of me on stage and said Mark Ellis comedian or whatever. But yeah, it's a very different life than how normal people function and how they go about applying for jobs, how they go about moving up the corporate ladder versus how you and I were just sort of, by their viewpoint, we're just sort of floating in the wind, hoping to latch on to something, which in part is true. But we also know that we're good at what we do in our chosen profession. And so it just sort of comes without the need to have a resume. Where we excel at, where they don't have to deal with these sort of things, is a lot of times when we're signing contracts. That's when you have to put on like your 3.8 or my 2.1 GPA brain and say, all right, let me look at all the fine print here and let me go through all of these things letter by letter, because most folks that are in their lives or their jobs don't have to worry about that sort of red tape stuff like we do. And I think I would have made a good lawyer. I think I would have been an okay lawyer in the last few years when it was Christian and I running the Schmoes No Business. I sort of handled all the legal stuff. And I was like pretty good at it. Like I could talk to lawyers on their level and I'm like, this is I could have done that. I don't want to, but I could have done this.
You're really good with the money stuff too, Mark. Like just in terms of no, that's my view on you.
No, I am. I just hate doing it. I hate doing it. It is. I would compare it to the hardest part of my actual job is writing scripts for myself to deliver on camera. That's the hardest part. I could write stand-up, but just like the actual sitting down and typing. I got carpal tunnel a couple weeks ago because I had to write a bunch of scripts and like I couldn't I've never had it before. Shockingly, I know I literally could not use my right hand for a couple of days, and I've never felt that before. And so it's the same thing with doing any sort of computing or looking at a legal contract. I can figure it out. It just sucks my soul. And as you know, I need a nap afterwards.
Yeah, well, you're a creator. That's not what you're supposed to do. So I get why that would. But what are you writing scripts for Rotten Tomato stuff, or what do you have to have like a full script for?
That was I had a bunch of my show Versus got picked up for another run on Peacock, which is great news. And
do you want to know how I found that out? You want to know how I found that out? Not from you, Mark. I found it out from watching you at the Comedy Store and hearing you be announced and hearing that it got picked up and sitting there. And my cousin turns to me and said, "Did you know that?" I said, "I did not, sir. I did not."
Your cousin was a delight. Yeah, it was great meeting your sister. I think I met her once. Your cousin is Boston perfection to a T.
He is something. He's Jersey, but he is Boston, but he's Jersey. That's where he is.
Could have fooled me. Yeah, he's got a little bit of. I could see a little bit of Springsteen in him, but yeah, he's definitely got a lot of Boston to him. I just don't. I don't walk around with my resume on my sleeve. A lot of people do. I don't really find any fault with them. It's just for me. I just don't like. Yeah, I just work. I wake up and I work on stuff, and I go to bed. And I'm a very simple person, so I figure
what's going on with the Peacock show? Can you actually just tell me what's happening so I know, so that when people are like, "What's going on with your friend Mark?" I actually know what's happening in your life.
Thank you for asking. This is very nice. So yeah, I have a few different shows that I do on Peacock. Some of those I host segments of, and then other times they just sort of like to use me as an old school MTV VJ.
That's so sick.
introing and outroing. It's so much fun because I just go into either the NBC studio or I go into the Beverly Hills offices and I just sit there for a couple hours and I just riff and they take what they like and that's great. And then my own show is called Versus, which was titled that before the Schmodown had their Versus pay-per-view event. And
Sounds familiar.
no, because it always comes on and I'm like, you guys know I have a show called Versus too. Nobody really cares. It's not a conflict of interest or anything, but I write that show, which is like, I just basically take art and make it competitive. So RoboCop now versus Terminator, and we go through a bunch of different rounds, like a boxing match of who wins at the box office, who wins on the tomato meter, and then I get to make some judgment calls. And I just write the script myself because I like writing for me. That's the only idiot I know how to write for. And we banged out a bunch of them a couple weeks ago, had another round last week, and now we're just waiting for it to get out to the people of the world, and hopefully they like it.
You prefer to write your own stuff as opposed to having somebody write it because it's more in your voice, even though it's more work?
Yeah, it becomes a function of time, but particularly for something where I'm on camera for a length like that, I want it to be me. Like I could easily take somebody. I could actually tell you that Video Drew and Lon Harris are two writers that they use occasionally to write
That's great.
some like Rotten Tomatoes-ish stuff for me to deliver to camera. There's another line of shows that I host called RT Essentials, which is like the history of either directors or like the best movies of the 80s or the best cult classics, stuff like that. And a lot of times they write those scripts and they're fantastic. They're great at it.
They also know you, so they get your voice.
They've interacted with me enough to know, like, okay, can Mark pronounce this word?
Mark, you have a lot of jobs.
I do. I have a lot of jobs, but again, I tell people this all the time. It's not impressive. I'm not going to the coal mines every morning. You know, I'm not worried about getting black lung after I walk out of a nice air-conditioned studio for 3 hours.
Tunnel, Mark. Black lung, carpal tunnel, very similar.
Tough. It was tough. Yeah. Like I didn't know that it literally extends all the way up to my shoulder joint here and back here. Just the way that my hand was positioned because I was doing all this writing, and I just don't have that muscle developed enough. And so when I was at the gym, I had to stop doing like heavier bicep movements because my right bicep was so stressed. Like this was all just like strained all the time. I had like veins and like it was very, very it was a new experience for me. And
how did you know what was going on? Did you think that you were like, I would think I was having a stroke or something. How did you even know what was happening?
Because I knew what I'd done that day and I sort of did the math together. And like once you start to get a little numbness in the ends of your fingertips, you're like, okay, this is probably the way that my wrist or my forearm has been like resting for the better part of the past week. And it is good news that I know that the heart attack is usually the numbness is over here in the left hand. So I'm glad that it was in the right hand and not the left hand. But this was my forearm. It kind of looked cool. It was like super vascular. I looked Stallone in Rocky IV just in this forearm.
This is the kind of thing you got to send me. Pictures of Chris Cornell set lists and your forearm when you have carpal tunnel. Those are the things that make the list. And you're the only person who says positive things about Tom Brady to me. So continue that as well, please.
Roxy, we have a very unique relationship, and I'm thrilled that it is now expanded to me sending you pictures of a veiny forearm and Tom Brady quotes. And I will send you, I'm going to do some digging around because the theater I'm playing in Seattle this weekend is called El Corazon Theater. And it's downtown Seattle, and it is one of the last venues that Chris Cornell performed at. I think him and Tom Morello popped in even like a month or two before Chris Cornell passed away. And so a lot of times in these clubs, because I do a lot of like rock clubs when I go on the road, and a lot of times they do have either like old posters or sometimes they do have old set lists. One time I was playing a venue and they had a set list that Joe Satriani had. And I was like, holy, first of all, I'm on the same stage. Joe Satriani. It was downtown San Diego somewhere. It was at like some theater in downtown San Diego. And I'm looking at this set list and I'm like, holy crap. One time they had David Lee Roth set list when I was playing somewhere in Vegas years ago. And so I'm just looking at it
framed on the wall.
Yeah. And sometimes they laminate them. Sometimes they're just framed. Like it's unbelievable that they let monkeys like me go on the same stage as these people who have literally shaped the entertainment of my existence.
Who's the person you would want to step on the stage they stepped on the most?
That's a great question. it's so easy for me to say Van Halen, and I probably have at some point in my career. I would probably want to do one of my dream gigs is, I don't know if it's still achievable because I think they moved the location like over by literally one venue, but the Capitol Club in Liverpool, I would love to do stand up where the Beatles got their chops, where the Beatles started playing and night after night. That would just be such a cool thing to do a show at the Cavern Club, which I probably could do. And I need to look into it. And as soon as we get rid of this little COVID sequel that we're experiencing, then I do want to fly over to jolly old England and knock a Liverpool set out. I would just take the train to Liverpool and I would do the Cavern Club, and it would just mean the world to me, and my family would go crazy. It'd be awesome.
That would be unbelievable. I think it's still achievable because even if it moved over by a foot, who gives a shit? Like,
yeah, I mean, Paul McCartney has still played at that new Cavern Club too, and they might have just like redone the stage or remodeled it or something like that. But that's one of those ones where that's like a huge bucket list thing for me. And as I've gotten older, there's been less things, ironically, that I haven't done more. I just like have less things on my bucket list that I really, really want to do at some point. But the Cavern Club's one of them.
Speaking of right before you were mentioning said COVID part 2, whatever is happening, is that affecting any of your tour dates right now, or is everything still golden? Or do you have people in my Patreon who have questions for you? We're telling me all about you're going around the country. Again, shit that I don't know, Mark. You just told me you're going to Seattle, things you don't inform me of. Like, is everything kind of still gravy, or how's it looking?
I had to move a couple dates that I was going to do this year to hopefully next year. And so it hasn't really affected the dates that like I have set in stone, because I also want to be a little copacetic with the Schmodown. So I made sure that I had like New York dates on hold. So I still have those dates, which is the 7th and 8th, I think. And then I still have Vegas. And so I'm just like, I just kind of wanted to do markets for the rest of this year that I knew were going to be okay, or that I had like a reasonable percentage of assurance that we're still going to go on. So Vegas is going to go on. That's September 6th through the 12th at the MGM. And then which you're invited to. Yeah, you should. Y'all should give Vegas the whirl. It would be.
That's fucking cool. Have you performed at the MGM before?
Yeah, they have a Brad Garrett's Comedy Club is in there, and
that's so cool.
The last time I did it, Brad was there, and I got to meet him, and it was just kind of cool hanging out with Brad Garrett for a week because he's awesome. He is so nice. He's very reminiscent of Bob Saget on stage, where you know him from this nice sitcom family sort of persona, and that's not the Brad Garrett you're getting on stage. And but he's great, and he goes up and he'll just kind of kill time in between. And one of the dates that I did with him, I was headlining, and he would come out and he would open. Then he brings me up, and then we stayed on stage together for like 5 or 10 minutes, just kind of riffing back and forth. And it's just one of those surreal things. It's like I'm literally riffing with Raymond's brother on stage in Las Vegas. This is what is this?
It's really cool. That's really effing cool. Damn. Yeah. I think that we actually were supposed to, the Wargles were supposed to give Vegas a whirl. I think it was like a couple of weeks ago. And then it was at the same time that Schmodown was doing that, whatever the live taping was, the in-person taping. And so Steph was there doing stuff for that. So we ended up not going to Vegas. Dee went without us because Dee lives her life however she wants to live it. And so we definitely are putting Vegas on the books soon. But Vegas is kind of like you have a few months. It's not a full year-round thing. Like, I'm not going to Vegas in the wintertime. So I feel like your September perfectly lines up with my heart.
Well, it lines up with my heart too, for a very specific reason, because I did reach out to the club because I have a great relationship with them and the GM there. And I was like, hey, I would really love to be in Vegas. First of all, Vegas for a week is a long time for me.
Too long.
Like, it's a long time.
Yeah.
But I was like, look, if there's one week that I want to be in Vegas the whole week, it's the NFL kickoff week. Ooh. And so Monday the 6th is technically, that is Labor Day, is the 6th. And then the 12th, the night of the last shows, that day is Sunday, which is official NFL kickoff Sunday. You get the Thursday game where hopefully your boy Tom Brady and the Bucs beat the crap out of the Cowboys. And I just get to bask in all this football glory. And we're going to have a lot of our folks that are going to go to Vegas that week. So it's just going to be fun. So I think the World Girl should give Vegas a whirl. And maybe we can even get y'all a show at the comedy club, like during the day, if y'all want to do like either tape a podcast or do something fun there. So it's just Vegas. There's limitless opportunities in Vegas.
I like the end of the sentence was it's just Vegas.
It's just Vegas.
Are you a gambler?
I play blackjack. And when I say I play blackjack, I mean I sit down and I talk a lot of trash, good natured trash, but I love chewing the fat with whoever else is at the table, the dealer. And everybody always says that I'm up $200. I'm not that guy. I'll probably lose money, but I'm responsible when I gamble, when I play blackjack. So I'll give myself maybe a couple $100 at the most, but I get nervous. If I'm playing at a $15 table, I get very nervous and I don't play well. If I'm playing at like a Excalibur $5 table, I can start building some momentum, but the $15 and above, that really makes daddy nervous.
Once I start losing, I'm in trouble because I will keep going until I think I can win. And I have had to stop altogether because I'm a very extreme person. And I don't know how to dabble in anything. In my whole life, I've just never learned to dabble. People are like, oh yeah, I do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. And I'm like, I either go all fucking in, and it's just, even with like sports betting, they always say don't bet on your own team. I'm incapable of doing that. How am I going to bet against my team? You think there's a world in which I'm betting against the Patriots? It's gotten me in a lot of trouble.
Well, you just need a good wing person. You need a good wing person in Vegas because I've been that person too in my younger days when I first was in LA and we would just like go to Vegas for kicks for a weekend. You sort of want to have the buddy system where you have somebody else at the table that sees you. If you lose a few more hands and you start thinking, hey, I got my card, I'm going to go to the ATM. They're like, no, let's just go get a drink and call it a night. You just, as long as you have some sort of trust fall with somebody else, then you can have a great time in Las Vegas. But my favorite thing about Vegas is like the gambling and after the shows is all great. I love the hangover recovery functions of Las Vegas because you have great gyms in every casino. You have great spas at every casino. You have the sauna, you have the steam room, you have the whirlpool. I'll spend all day at the dude spa, just sitting around, bathrobe, just recovering from the night before, gearing up for that night's show. I love it.
You have shows at night, so you probably don't do this, but I start casually drinking. I love a good casual, like a drink curve to go back from the hangover. You just start really slow. I've kind of mastered that. You start with like the 10% and under kind of booze and work your way up to that 40%. I should write a book on this.
You should.
I just decided the second that I could put fucking charts in there. None of that matters. There's a lot of stuff going on in Streamlabs, Super Chats, Patreon, all that. You guys have questions for Mark. We have answers, or at least we'll try. Going back to when we were talking about being adults, Mormoth Han says, my day off, number 1, family brunch / drinking. Number 2, nap. Number 3, buy a kazoo and harmonica. If a judge didn't remind me I was an adult, I wouldn't be sure. Wow, a kazoo. That should be a goal too. I don't know anybody who plays the kazoo.
Yeah, it's a very easy instrument to pick up. It's one of those children's toys that turned into an actual instrument in a way that the recorder wished it did. Like the recorder is something that you just are forced to learn how to do, but the kazoo, you just blow into it, it makes fun noises, and it's great. It's a great toy for any age.
You think the recorder's jealous as shit of the kazoo? It's like, this is what I've been fucking trying to do. In 3rd grade, I was introduced, and then the kazoo takes over. I
think the recorder hates children. I think the recorder is so upset at its older brother, the flute. I think the recorder has so much hate in its heart for any music teacher that makes those greasy kids with their chubby fingers blow into it, no idea what they're doing. The recorder has such a bad rap, and I'm not blaming the recorder necessarily, but by this point, I think the recorder, it's more machine now than man. It is twisted, and it is evil, and we need to get it out of school.
Hot cross buns for the rest of my life. Like that was the jam. I was actually decent at the recorder. Awful at the flute. Was kicked out of flute class by Miss Sigliano. She put me at the table of shame and gave me the royal bonk. And that's public school for y'all kids.
That's amazing. Yeah, I was not a recorder kid at all. I could rock a mean handbell. Mrs. Avery was like, this kid is just not like, I had fat fingers and I thought that'd be great for a recorder, but for whatever reason, it did not work for the recorder. But man, I could grip a handbell and I could ding, ding, ding.
It shows your true talent, Mark. King Sport Cow says, hey, Roxy, Mark, as my state neighbor, Tennessee/Virginia, is that what those stand for? What do you miss about living in the South? Do you feel the same as you did when you go back?
My more all-encompassing answer about missing the South is I miss green stuff. Not like marijuana. I just miss the scenery, because even in LA, you get some greenery, but I just miss driving on a highway and it's just nothing but green and trees, and it makes it easy for cops to like hide in between, because cops in the Southeast, they have like these Z28 souped up Camaros and they're undercover and they're looking to write tickets. So you got to be careful when you're driving, but I love just the nice scenery of the South. I also miss Bojangles, which is a great fast food chain restaurant. Bojangles, biscuits, chicken, hash browns that have a little kick to them called potato rounds. It is the best. Roxy, next time you fly somewhere, and if you're in the Atlanta airport or the Charlotte airport, don't fall prey to your Wendy's or your Chick-fil-A's or whatever else they're going to try to throw at you. Seek out the one terminal that has a Bojangles. You will not regret it.
Okay, what am I thinking of right now? Does Bojangles mean something? Because I remember some song growing up that was like, call a bitch Bojangles. That's what it sounded like.
I don't remember that particular song, but I think it's Nitty Gritty Dirt Band that did a song called, I think it was called Mr. Bojangles, and it was just about this homeless guy who would like dance on the corner for table scraps for money, and it's a really sad song when you listen to the lyrics, but it's also just got this nice easy riff. It's one of those songs, Rox, you would put on in the morning in Vegas when you're just having a couple light beers just to recover from the night before and get that hair of the dog in you.
On the curve. Okay, yeah. I'll have to look out for Bojangles more often then, both the restaurant and the homeless song that we're talking about. Dark Jedi Knight says, what world famous sports event in history would have loved to have seen in person? For me, it's Super Bowl 51, Pats versus Falcons. World famous sports event in history is so many, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could go really, really big picture, and you could go with one of the classic boxing matches. If you are, the Rumble in the Jungle would be amazing.
That would be much better than that. That would be crazy.
The one that I think would be the coolest would be at the 1936 Olympics, where you got to see Jesse Owens run laps around the supposed superior race of Adolf Hitler, where Germany just got embarrassed and Jesse Owens just dominated and showed what a true athlete is and what a true classy human being is. For me, selfishly, though, the sporting event I'd go to is memorialized on that wall or on that wall. It's Super Bowl 17 or Super Bowl 22. 17, first time the Washington broke through and won a Super Bowl. John Riggins had a 4th-and-1 run that is legendary in the Ellis household, because my dad was in the living room when I was 2 years old, and he's just on his hands and knees on 4th-and-1. It was a really Stonesy sort of call by Joe Gibbs to go for it on 4th-and-1, and my dad is just praying for something. Riggins busts through the line, takes it to the house. Just to feel the energy in that stadium for that play, probably the one I'd want to go to the most.
What's so
you're taking Rumble in the Jungle?
I don't know, because not the last thing you just said, but every other thing you said sounded so great. Like, you're right that if I'm thinking about this logically, going, well, I don't know that I bode very well as a Jew in the stadium.
Did you get any Red Sox World Series in-person events?
When they played the Dodgers out here.
You were, that's right. Were you at the closing game?
6, yeah.
Wow. That's pretty epic.
Yeah, the only Boston team that I, other than soccer, because I don't pay attention, but the only what do they call the New England Revolution? The only Boston team that I have not seen win in person are the Bruins. So that will give me what is the one up from a trifecta? The four. I've seen the Patriots in person. I've seen the Celtics win in person. I saw the Red Sox all for championships, but the Bruins would make it the quadrupta.
the quadrophenia. We'll go with the who.
I'm thinking quad Bojangles.
Quadajangles.
It's pretty much it. Yeah, I mean that would be so, but that wouldn't be my answer because I'm not a huge hockey girl. So it's like, even though that would complete me, I'm
not a huge hockey guy, but I will tell you this: I am so thrilled that Seattle's getting an NHL expansion team called the Kraken. I already got that's Uncle Mark is bringing a bunch of NHL Kraken gear to the family up there when I go up there tonight. Because being at a hockey game, again, not a huge hockey fan like during the regular season, being at a hockey game, particularly a playoff atmosphere, it's one of the best scenes in sports, particularly for a white trash idiot like me, because you're in an enclosed arena. It's cool to see hockey action, but it's also loud, mostly 80s rock music blaring every 30 seconds. The beer is ice cold because it's hockey. It's a Canadian sport. They know how to serve cold beer. And it's just one of the best sporting times you could ever have.
I do think that based on what you're saying right now, it is very strange that I'm not a hockey girl because everything that you just described feels so good to my soul. And so I don't really understand what went wrong.
At some point, you just have to pick like your top 2 or 3 sports, and then you have to sacrifice something because occasionally, as much as I hate to admit it, we do have to go outside and go to work. And so you can only pivot around events for so long.
It's football and basketball, and that's like all I can see. And then baseball is fun because that's like a real casual drinking while you watch sport. And the Sox are cool, so that's great. And then after that, no, I got to get on this hockey life, though. You're telling me I can only pick 1 or 2, and I say to you, no, sir, I must do better. So you're going to Seattle tonight. You're flying in right after this. Did you postpone your flight just to come do this show because it is so important?
I did. I was at the airport and I left the airport. I was like, excuse me, Garcon, keep my bags here. I got to go do my girl Roxy's show and I will be back and you will keep the plane here until I return.
Well, maybe that's why this place isn't doing so well. They're taking calls like that instead of figuring out what to do with this freaking state. So you're going tonight. Are you performing tonight, tomorrow? What do you got going on in Seattle?
Not tonight. No, I get in and Kenny Knapsack and I, he's going up with me and we're both flying up. We didn't book a show tonight for the following reason, is because I got us both, which I don't always do. I got us both first class tickets flying up there. So we're going to have a good time on the flight up there. Yeah.
That's fucking great.
Yeah. We went out. This is what you get when I haven't been able to take my pals on the road as much the last year, is that when we do get to go somewhere, it becomes a celebration. And this is something very important, kids. You can't always force the celebration. So I have shows most nights. You can't always have the party afterwards, the good times, the vibe. You can't always do it. But when you start to see the stars coming together, it's like you're in the stars. You have gotten into my lexicon. You've gotten into the way that I speak. Roxy Stryer is now a part of Mark Ellis's nomenclature, for better or for worse.
I invited Ken to my birthday party, but he never responded to me. I'm very sad about that. He sent me the most lovely birthday message because he's the best. And then he didn't respond to my birthday party. Felt like a 13-year-old girl at school who slid the message across the table and the person pretended not to get the note. But I think a lot of people thought it was like a mass message, but it wasn't.
You personalized it to me, and so I knew that it was like, oh, well, that's sweet. It's probably a little cut and paste.
All right. When you're right.
Because it was a venue that I'd never heard of before. It was a delightful time, and I wasn't there that long because I was working all night and I was exhausted. But
you did come and it was really sweet.
It was great, and I can't remember her name, but there was one poor waitress,
Allie.
She was literally running the entire outdoor bar. And she was just so nice. She had the best attitude, start to finish, at least when I was there. And it was the time to be had. But I'll also tell you this, is that, Roxy, we're in this world now where a lot of our friends who are either like full on married with kids or are now in serious relationships or are engaged. I think that Ken and Grace are probably the most easygoing couple I've ever met. They're so cool. They're so relaxed. They're so much fun to be around. But for relationships as a whole, I don't know, and I do not want to know what those conversations are like as far as what nights are we going to plan on going out, what nights are we staying in, do we have game night, do we invite friends over? I don't want a part of any of that thing. And that's probably why I haven't had a birthday in forever. Like, your birthday party was great for you. And I was sitting there saying, I'm so happy Roxy's enjoying this big birthday celebration. And I'm so glad that this is not my birthday party, because I would break out in hives.
Well, it sounds to me like heaven is talking to my partner about which days we're going out and which days we're not. You just pitched my dream scenario, Mark. How fucking sad is that? Oh boy, we have more things going on. Streamlabs, Super Chats, Patreon, the places to go, people to see. Wait, before I do that though, Ken is performing with you tomorrow night.
Ken is on the show. Yes, you can get tickets at markellis.live. Not Mark Ellis Live. That's a whole different ball of wax. Just Mark Ellis.
What happens there?
.live. If you go to the old original Mark Ellis Live site, it's now instructions on how to have sex as a human rabbit. So there's some bunny porn that
as a human rabbit. So it's like a furry thing.
Definitely humans dressed up as rabbits. So it's not like strictly like rabbits humping each other. It's like people dressed up as rabbits. So it's sort of like a furry situation. I was explaining all this to my uncle last week when he texted me about my website. This is a lot of fun.
Eminem says that he fucks like 2 jackrabbits and maybe that's a bad habit. So he could be on the furry site that is Mark Ellis Live. We just don't know. Dark Jedi Knight, what Olympic event do you want to see the most? Oh yeah, didn't the Olympics start today? For me, it has to be karate, because I studied as a teen and it originated in, I can't see that far. Is that China?
Originated in Japan.
In Japan?
Yes.
I just don't even know my flags either. So I just learned, I was today 8 years old when I learned what the Japanese flag looked like. And then I was also today 8 years old when I learned that karate was an Olympic sport.
Karate is definitely an Olympic sport.
I had no idea.
They score it a little like Karate Kid, which is fun. Because they have judges, and it's like, just because the technical stuff, it's like, where do you hit? Is that a full point? Or if you go after certain parts of the body, is that taking a point away? Is that
That's
like
fucking cool. Why has nobody shown me this? I don't watch the Olympics.
No,
that sucks.
I don't watch the Olympics for a very weird reason. I get nervous and I get anxiety watching most Olympic sports. Gymnastics, I am so in awe of the athleticism that it takes. I can't watch it because I'm so worried about those movements and somebody like breaking an ankle or like landing on their head, and it doesn't. I don't enjoy that level of anticipation. A couple weeks ago, when it was it was Italy and England in the soccer finals, and went to penalty kicks, that was some anxiety, and I'm like, I'm not prepared for this. So my answer for the sport I'm most excited to watch in the Olympics is very boring and very stock and very stupid Mark Ellis. I am excited to see what our NBA stars can do as Team USA.
Who's there?
Because we have Kevin Durant. We are going to have a number of the Milwaukee Bucks, the now champions. Drew Holiday is going to play. Chris Middleton is going to play. We have a lot of studs. Damian Lillard's on the team, but can they come together as a unit to take on these other countries that have played as a team for a long time? And this is not, you're never going to get another dream team like 1992. That dream team inspired the entire world to pick up a basketball. They did. And now, generations later, they can hoop. And so it's very, very exciting, and it's very competitive.
Imagine being a player in the NBA and playing against all of these other teams and then having to merge with them for the Olympics. That is such a weird mind fuck of a thing.
Do you want to hear? Oh, okay. This is also going to answer that previous question. What sporting event in all of history? I'm so glad you brought this up. Yesterday was the anniversary of a Team USA practice in 1992. So this is the dream team. Okay. They were sort of lollygagging through a couple practices. They're in Monte Carlo having a good time. And then it came time for the coaching staff led by Chuck Daly, who was at that time the head coach of the Pistons, to say, all right, I need to get these guys competitive fire stoked. So what did he do? At practice, he divided them into teams and they played each other. And every man who played in that game, all members of the dream team said, to this day, that is the best basketball they've ever witnessed. Wow. It's Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, David Robinson on a team together. And
that's incredible.
It's then you have Patrick Ewing, Charles Barkley, Clyde Drexler, Larry Bird is injured, so he's just on the side talking trash to everybody. Magic Johnson and Michael, and it's such a cool thing because after that, they all get on the bus to go back to the hotel, and they were silent. Like nobody was saying anything. It's the first time they really like got into each other's jock and like we're talking trash and going back and forth. And about 5-10 minutes go by. Nobody said a word on the bus yet until Magic says, well, I guess it's Mike's league now or something like that. And the whole thing burst out. The whole bus burst out laughing. And that's sort of when Michael Jordan knew. He's like, yeah, I just took the crown from Larry and from Magic, and this is my league.
Got in a big fight on SEN Live the other day with Ben Goddard because to me, Michael Jordan is still and probably always will be the GOAT. He's arguing for LeBron. Just in a quick, where do you stand on that? Where do you stand?
As of today, I still go Mike, but I think the case for LeBron gets stronger and stronger because you look at what an achievement it is to win 6 championships and never lose a championship. What Mike did, incredible. LeBron has been to like, I think 9 or 10 NBA finals. Didn't win all of them, but he's been to like, that is an incredible achievement. So
that's some Brady type stuff.
Yeah. They're both top 3 in my book.
All right. Fine. The Adventures.
But Mike still won.
Okay, good. I'll take that. Adventures in Nerding said, is Molly going on tour with you? Do you ever bring Molly?
I wish. I wish I could. She's now 14. She's having some troubles with her front paw, so this would not be the trip to take her on anyway. And I'm taking her to an orthopedic specialist when I get back into town. That's like we've seen a lot of different specialists. So she's a gamer. She's playing through. I'm looking at her right now. She got a bath this morning. She did great getting the bath, but yeah, she's not. She went on the road with me one time, and I was dating her mom. We went to Dallas. I was doing a run of hyenas in Dallas, and so Molly's mom came and we brought Molly, and she did great. She did great on the plane. And so I've been on a plane with Molly a couple times, and it's great. It's like there's nothing better than doing a road gig, doing 2 or 3 shows in a night, and then coming home to the hotel and just having that sweet puppy lick my face. But not to be this time.
I like anybody piecing the story together who just finally heard you say sweet puppy after the whole, they might not have known who Molly was. This is 14-year-old and I'm going to bring her to the orthopedic surgeon. And I used to date her mom, but you know, she comes on the road with me sometimes. Yep. That sweet puppy. Good too.
Really important that I put the face licking after I acknowledged she was a dog.
Yeah, because we can't say she's 14, then the face lick. Yeah, the dog thing. Right. We buried the lead a little bit there. Alexander Wilson said, Mark, thoughts on the upcoming season for the Washington football team? Also, what city are you originals from?
I am very optimistic about the upcoming season, and I get so bent out of shape this time of year because all the sports talk about NFL, anything is all about the stupid ass Cowboys who have not won anything in forever, but they're America's team. And so we have to talk about them every day ad nauseum and talk about their chances to win the NFC East. They're not going to win the NFC East. You know why? Because they don't know how to put a team together. They don't know how to put a bunch of stars and a bunch of schmucks. And that's going to be the Dallas Cowboys. And that's going to continue to be the Dallas Cowboys. Now, my team, on the other hand, solid defense, a quarterback that I'm a little iffy on the quarterback situation, but I think our defense is so good. As long as our quarterbacks don't have to feel like they have to go out and win the game every Sunday, I think we have a great shot to win the NFC East. I think we have a great shot to make a run in the playoffs against your boy, Tom Brady, and the Buccaneers. So I'm very, very optimistic about the upcoming season.
I think that everybody I'm talking to right now is optimistic about their own upcoming season, though.
We always are.
We'll see how the optimism lands. Talk.
But I'm a student enough of a sports fan to know the difference between like optimism that I'm forcing myself to have and actual genuine optimism and belief, and that's what I have this season, which I've not had in a long time as a Washington fan. So I'm basking in this right now.
Just remember this moment.
I'm going to treasure that. That's why it's great the way Vegas is structured, because I get into Vegas. My last day of shows is Sunday when we play for the first time. So I just get to enjoy all this anticipation all week long. I get to watch the Bucs beat the crap out of the Cowboys on Thursday, and then we'll see how we do on Sunday.
Some things coming in from the patreon.com/Roxy Stryer. Chris Martinez says, hey, Roxy and Mark, hope you're all having a good day. I'm about to be a teacher for 7th graders. Ooh. I kind of want to be the cool teacher, but also still want them to learn and pay attention. How do I find a good balance of comedy and learning in the classroom? What an interesting question that I don't know that I'm equipped to answer. Mark, what do you think?
This is a very intimidating circumstance you're walking into. 7th graders, a lot of stuff happening inside their stupid little bodies, and they can't control all of it, and they have a lot of intelligence. They also have a lot of hormones that are starting to run through them. So my advice to anybody, and by the way, the situation you're walking into is something that me, as a comedian of almost 2 decades of experience, horrifies me. So props to you. I would walk in and I would not try to be the cool teacher on day one. I would try to instill some level of discipline and then gradually soften. You don't want to open as like the fun loose teacher, because you could be too loose and then the kids just think it's an easy A. So I would go in there with the measure of discipline, and just don't forget it's like me with the dog. It's like, I love her to death. Occasionally I do have to be her father and tell her no. And so that's how you do it, is establish some measure of discipline, and then let them win you over. Let them see your human side after you show them that, hey, I can be Darth Vader if I have to.
Really solid advice. Think about the teachers that you had that impacted you the most and try to emulate them for the reasons that they did. Maybe that will help too.
And you try to find one thing that can link to all kids. Like, two of my favorite teachers of all time, Mrs. Stewart and Mr. Joyce, they both were big sports fans. And so you could walk in and kind of talk about the game the night before with them. But then once class started, it was serious. But you could also use sports examples to relate to them about what they're learning, which I continue to employ to this very day. When I'm cheering up any one of my friends, it always comes down to a sports metaphor. So if you know sports, I think you're going to be just fine.
Do your job, Mark. Do your job. Garth McMurray. Garth McMurray in the Patreon says, hey, Mark, I was wondering, what is your worst experience doing stand-up comedy with hecklers, club owners, and so on? Do you have a number one worst experience?
I do. With the club owner in particular, there's a club. I'm just going to say it was in Florida. That's as specific as I'll get. And the club owner is just an a-hole. There's no other way to say it. And I'm not the only person to have reported that experience with this particular club. And it sucks because it's a great fan base there, and it's awesome clientele. They like to have a great time. The club, besides this jackass, was run very well, but he was just such an attention whore, and you could tell he wanted to be a comic. Sometimes he'd give himself 5 or 10 minutes on stage in the middle of the show just so he could bring his friends and show off. And he was just, and the funniest part about it, he had this, Roxy, I've seen really good hair pieces, and I've seen really bad ones. This rug was 5 levels worse than the hair that the guy has in the Goodfellas movie, in the commercials. It's a deep cut, but if you get it, you get it. And so the whole time you're talking to you, whether he's yelling at you about whatever stupid ass thing about leaving the lights on in the condo or whatever else, you left the AC on. It's like, well, yeah, it was hot. And the whole time he's trying to ream you out, your eyes start at his eyes and they just drift up, and you're just looking at that dead raccoon on top of his head.
That's tough.
Yeah, but by and large, it's been great experiences with most everyone. I work to get along with people, and I've found it very rewarding. So,
Glenn Caesar has a fuck, marry, kill for us. He says, hey, Mark, it's great to have you back here on Live at the Roxy. I'm looking forward to today's show. This was before we started, as I'm sure the conversation will be fun/funny, but also insightful. Maybe it was those things, Glenn. Okay, here's my question for both of you guys. Fuck, marry, kill, movies and TV edition. Okay, so sports movies, comedy movies, and action sci-fi fantasy stuff. So his examples for sports are Hoosiers, Remember the Titans, etc. For comedy, it's like Friends, Curb Your Enthusiasm. All right, so this is TV also. And for action, sci-fi, fantasy, he gives Fast and Furious, Star Wars, Wonder Woman, Spider-Man, etc. Wow, these are big genres to be fucking, marrying, or killing. Yeah. What do you do, Mark?
This is going to be a lot of sex, a lot of hand-holding, and a lot of stabbing.
Yeah. Breakups, man.
I am going to, this might shock people, I'm going to kill sports movies, because as I adore sports movies, but I can also watch real sports and get the same inspiration. It's not like I can just watch the news and see what happened in a galaxy far, far away that day, So Star Wars, I'd probably marry fantasy sci-fi, and I would sleep with comedies, because I sometimes I need to take a break from movies designed to make me laugh. I don't always feel like laughing, so I just feel like having my imagination taken somewhere else. So I think I'm pretty happy with my decision. I'm pretty happy taking fantasy sci-fi's hand in marriage.
I actually do the same exact thing you do. And for the fantasy sci-fi and all that, it's also a huge chunk of how I make a living. And so if I kill it, then it's not a good look for me. Bruce Banner in the super chat says, Mark, what's your thoughts on the new Cleveland baseball team name and logo?
I think the Cleveland Guardians is the new baseball team.
What's the logo?
The logo, I think it's sort of like a medieval helmet. I don't know. I got to study the logo more in depth,
cool.
But it was pretty cool. And my reaction to it, as somebody whose team is probably going to get a rebranding sooner rather than later, is if my baseline is Guardians, then I'm totally cool with that. I can totally get behind rooting for a team called the Guardians. It's a cool name. As long as the Washington football team picks a name that is as cool or better than Guardians, 100% it.
Wow, we have a lot of things coming in through the Streamlabs right now.
Bring it in.
Mark, people like you. So this is from the Zenist of Glennis, Zen Glenn Caesar, who always gives us our daily mantras, who says, hello, Roxy and Mark, and happy Friday to you. Thank you both for hanging out with us all today. No usual spiel from me, just to say peace, bunnies, hugs, and good stuff to you two, Grammy and Papo. Be most excellent to yourselves and each other, Roxy, Mark, and the Rockstars band. Bunnies for Avery Burke and Avery's mom. Rest in peace to Chris Burke. Hashtag 3 Rockstars forever. Go Smets, and everyone's still fighting to smash cancer. Hashtag I stand against anti-Semitism. I stand against Islamophobia. I stand against Asian hate. Stop AAPI hate. I know that Black Lives Matter. Hashtag BLM. Miles Cosgrove, Brett Hangison, Jonathan McNally, rest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. All 3 of them for killing Breonna Taylor. I hope today is the day. Thank you, Glenn, for always saying that. Justice for people who've lost their lives due to excessive force. Hashtag say their names. Glenn, you are the best. We appreciate your daily reminders for all the things that matter. Going to the next Streamlabs, coming in from May, who says, hashtag Moxie is back. That's us, Mark. My heart's a flutter. If I may suggest, Mark goes to the wedding with Roxy in order to meet Roxy's dad, then record them talking about music, please and thanks. I don't have a +1 to this wedding. I am going to my ex-boyfriend's wedding. My dad's also not invited, so it'd be a bummer for Mark to come and not meet him and also not be invited to the wedding. But at some point in the future, every time somebody asks me, who's the person that you want to meet your dad the most, the answer is Mark Ellis.
Oh, I would be such a lousy +1 for you because I would just be glued to your dad all night, just trying to get stories out of him. But
Mark, let's go drink, let's go dance. And you're like, I'm busy, Rocks.
Yeah, like he's talking about Aerosmith getting back together. Like but I think it's so great that you are going to support somebody who you had a relationship with, didn't work out, but I'm friends with all my exes, and I think that's it's a cool, positive thing in the world.
Yeah, when you don't end poorly, when nobody disrespects somebody, it should be really easy to stay loving somebody, or easy is the wrong word, but you should be able to do that. This person's amazing, and was nothing but ever amazing to me. And I'm so fucking happy for him. And so like a lot of people have been like, you're going to your ex's wedding. And I'm like, damn right I am. And he found an awesome girl, and I'm so fucking stoked to go celebrate them. And it's a good reason to go back east, which I'm excited about also.
It's a wedding. I love any chance I get to go to a wedding. I'm in.
Adrian Bailey says, hi, Roxy and Mark. I want to apologize to Brandy for the stupid thing I said to her a month ago. I have no idea what you're talking about, Adrian. I hope she can forgive me. Happy belated birthday to Roxy. Hope your day was fantastic. Hello, Mark. It's always great to see you on any screen. Thanks. Well, Adrian, I don't know what that's about, but I always think it's nice to apologize when you fuck up. So that's a nice thing to do, I think.
Sorry. It's not that hard.
That's so true. Marion says, hey, Rox, it's been a while. What's up, Ellis? I always ask you flash questions, and the streak continues. Oh, season 7 was really hard to watch, and I think sadly season 8 will be its last, if not 9. What are your thoughts? I fell off of watching The Flash. Do you watch any of those DCCW shows?
I'll do you one step worse. I haven't seen any of those. I mean, I know a little bit about them. I also haven't seen any of the MCU shows. Yeah,
the MCU ones are definitely worth your time. Flash at this point it's definitely tough to get through. David Taylor says, Roxy, I love your love for Chris Cornell. I saw Chris Cornell perform with Soundgarden 6 days before he passed away in Iowa. One of the greatest sets I've ever seen. Wow, that's crazy. Mark, I wish you, Ken, and Daniel Bridge Gadd all the best in Seattle tomorrow. and then said /M/, which I don't know what that means, but maybe it's some kind of emoji translated.
I'll take it, man. Thank you for that story. It's always cool to hear about getting to see rock legends no longer with us when they were in their prime and just doing what makes us all happy. So I put on some Soundgarden in honor of Seattle, but also being on live at the Roxy today for my cryotherapy session. I did.
You did?
I did Pretty News, which I hadn't heard in a minute.
Good tune. Think that seems like if I was going to be freezing my ass off, exactly what I'd be wanting to listen to. I've never done cryo, but I assume.
Highly recommend Spoon Man as well for a good cryo tune, just to jam out to some spoon. Once the spoons start kicking in, you know you're almost done. So that's how you time it.
I just transported myself to a different world in which I am singing on stage with Chris Cornell and just rocking out my own self, and Pearl Jam stops by and we've got some grunge music going on. This is I'm living my dream right now. Popcorn says, Roxy, I kept getting recommended Collider live videos and saw the one where you told the story of your friend finding out that he wasn't the father. Yeah, that was crazy. Craziest story ever. So Ellis, what's your skincare routine? Thanks. This is my favorite question I've ever had. Ellis, he wants to know your skincare routine. Oh my God, welcome to every woman on the internet. Yes.
Yeah, really. My skincare routine is pretty basic. I do firmly believe that the Novathor red light therapy that I do at my cryo place, then cryotherapy does help overall, as science teaches us. And I try to exercise a lot. So I'm a sweaty person anyway. I love being sweaty. So you get all that crap out. And then I don't really do much. After occasionally I'll put some moisturizer on my face. And before I go on camera sometimes, I did nothing today. So I hope I look okay. But I just take a little bit of baby powders. For all you dudes out there who are like, I don't put on makeup, but if you're shiny, just a little bit of baby powder, dab the forehead, nose, you're good to go. Just make sure that you get it in there, because a lot of times I'll show up to something having done the baby powder, but I didn't fully get it in there. So it just looks like I was doing a line in my car right before I came in.
But
so
from your
make
forehead,
sure
it's like all up here. People just think you're really bad at Coke. Not only did he show up on Coke, but he was really bad at it.
I missed on re-entry. I went in too shallow.
Oh, also coming in from the Streamlabs is Eric Lane, who says, hey, Mark and Roxy, did you hear that Indians changed their name to the Guardians? Am I even allowed to say that anymore? But yes, we just talked about that a little bit. Yikes. As a fellow football team fan, what name do you prefer? I think it's going to end up being Red Wolves. I'm okay with that. Come back to Phoenix. Don't almost die on the drive.
Okay. We talk about say hello to heaven, man. We almost did on the drive to Phoenix last time. I would love to have Red Wolves. I'm cool with Red Tails. I'm cool with Warriors. I'm cool with keeping it the Washington football team heretofore. So I'm very easy to please, and I hope the rest of our fans are, because I think we all know it's time to move on now, whether we keep it the football team name, which I don't think we're going to do. I think we have something in mind. We're just waiting for all the legal stuff to clear. So just be cool with it, and let's just move on, and let's win some championships.
I don't know anybody who doesn't want to just move forward. It's just like kind of at this point, like, all right, just pick a direction, go in it, legal, sign, seal, deliver it, and just be down with whatever it is, unless it's something back.
Right.
Yeah. All right. Going back into the Streamlabs. Zachary Vale says, looking forward to seeing Mark in Seattle tomorrow. Also, congrats on the lead role. Have a great day, you two. Thank you, Zachary. I appreciate that. I told them that I'm going to film a movie, and he's going to support you too. So he just supported both of us. So, Zachary, you just did it well, Zachary.
Much play, Zachary. I'll tell you what, we'll do the show, and then we'll fly in next week to Roxy's set, and we'll surprise her and probably annoy the hell out of her because she's focused on shooting.
Are you going to bring him first class like you did Ken? Because otherwise, yeah, I'm going to be 2 hours. I need 2 hours. Leave me alone. Oh, it's okay. It's okay. King's Workhouse says, I'm an Indian. It's fine. I don't know what to say about that. Mark, I'm glad you mentioned Pretty Noose. It's a phenomenal song. Kim Thale is a guitar god, albeit it's no Van Halen.
There's only one of those.
Little smiley face.
Yeah, Kim Thale is just one of the most underrated players, too, of all time, and particularly from the grunge era. He he could do riffs. He could get down, dirty, grungy. He never made it about himself. It was all about the bands. He's just a one-of-a-kind player.
You know what's not one of a kind? my eyesight. Do you see every time I read these how close I have to get to the screen? It is going.
Look, you had a great birthday celebration, and we all were very encouraging. I'm telling you, this is going to be the best decade of your life. But all you need to do, Rox, to keep that eyesight healthy, you know the answer to this.
Carrots? Baby carrots? Yes.
All you gotta do.
I don't know if that's true, but I kind of hope it is. Mark, do I have you for 5 more minutes to get through some of this stuff?
Yeah, I already told the airport. I'm like, look, you're holding the plane.
Oh, good. Hold the plane. Hold the plane.
Yeah, no, I'm good. I'm good. You can we can do another 10 minutes if you want. I'm gonna do a shot. It's not alcohol, but this is from Creation.
Is it wellness?
This is my wellness shot. This is called Defender, and we got apple, pineapple, strawberry, coconut, turmeric, ginger, lemon, black pepper, mint, and vegan probiotics and reishi. So this is
it part of the skincare routine?
Sometimes these are pretty tough to take. I'm sure it helps. I had a pineapple protein shake this morning. I'm sure it all helps, right?
What you put inside
to Roxy and her and her crushing her movie upcoming, and all you great Live with the Roxy fans who keep supporting this show, and the hardest working person in showbiz.
And to everybody who's going to see Mark in Seattle tomorrow night, MarkEllis.live, not the other one, unless you want to see bunnies fucking. Woo. Mine was just tea. It's not nearly as good as what your thing was. I actually love the way that those kind of things taste. Leonard Kim in the Streamlabs says, hey, Dimple Tits, Roxy. That's my nickname, Mark. And Mark, I hope you're both doing well. Roxy, the Revs are currently first in the Eastern Conference. Is that the Revolutions? And worth following. Frankly, soccer overall is fun. I'm with Mark. I don't watch hockey anymore, but the Kraken is a boss name. All right.
It is. And the design is really cool. Yeah.
I believe you guys. April Rain says, Roxy, Ellis, what are y'all's fave physical attributes about yourselves? Roxy, I think you have great bone structure, which sounds creepy, LOL, but you do. And Ellis, your eyes are so big and cute.
I'll take that. I think that I'll start because Roxy's list is going to be a lot longer than mine.
No.
The eyes are cool. I like the eyes. My favorite thing about my body, there's 2 things that I like on my body. There's one I'm cool with now, and there's one that I absolutely adore. I love my calves. I've always had good calves, and I will continue to have good calves thanks to basketball and weight training. I love
good calf game. It's important.
And then my shoulders recently are starting to kick in. So the shoulders then really just goes to the clavicle, and so I'm starting to become a tolerable person with shoulders and doing like the Arnold presses and stuff. So, but it's really just about the calves or nothing for me.
I like my dimples because they help me in life. So they are great dimples. They're big, and then sometimes they can make me. They help me get away with things. Also, my mom had a dimple, so it's like the only thing that is very similar about our faces. So I like that. And my list is certainly not very long because having to compliment myself makes me feel like I could jump off of a building. So we'll just move on past that one. Jess QO says, I'm late to the stream, but I wanted to know if Mark has any virtual shows coming up again. I really enjoyed the New Year's show with Roxy showing up on the stream at the end.
Oh, right. That was a very fun New Year's Eve.
Yeah, awesome.
I'm not saying goodnight permanently to virtual shows. I just want to make sure that there's a crowd in there. I don't want to do ones in like an empty bar with just a few of my friends around. I want to do a packed house, but I also want to broadcast it to the world. So there's actually a couple companies that I'm having ongoing conversations with. So by the end of this year, probably going to get at least one of those up for y'all, where you can actually, wherever you are in the world, you can watch us live at a comedy club that is sold out. So that's a really, really cool thing.
That's the perfect combo because, the live audience does make the difference. But if everybody can see it, that's amazing. Eric Grebner says, hey, guys, random question. Favorite Steely Dan song or album?
Oh, this is tricky for me because Steely Dan is one of those bands where I've come to appreciate Steely Dan. I still feel like those guys think that they're the greatest musicians in the world. They're really good, but I feel the cockiness come through. You gotta love that confidence.
You gotta love that.
They have a tune called Deacon Blues, which at the same time makes me happy and sad, is because Wake Forest is mentioned, the Demon Deacons, that's what it's about. But it's called Deacon Blues because they feel like a loser in the song. So they're singing about how Alabama has the Crimson Tide. Those are the winners in the world. I want a name when I lose. Call me Deacon Blues. So it's basically talking about how Wake Forest athletics were not at the peak of its powers when the song was written. So it bothers me. But it's also at the end of Seinfeld's comedian documentary. So long story boring. My favorite Steely Dan song, probably My Old School. Because William and Mary's mentioned in that, which is in Williamsburg, Virginia. There we go.
I don't have a favorite Steely Dan song. I don't spend much time listening to Steely Dan, but like wouldn't turn Steely Dan off, wouldn't turn Steely Dan on. Mostly feel like Steely Dan, Makuga, Yacht Rock, Live Your Best Life kind of thing.
I don't know when those poor bastards just got sucked into this world of yacht rock, but I'm desperately trying to rescue them.
That's what they are. That's what happened. Just admit when it went wrong. It went wrong. Emil Johansson says, when I went to high school a million years ago, there was a comedian at a party that talked about Super Mario. I thought he was great. Mark is better.
It might have been me. I've been making a living off Super Mario jokes for quite a long time.
That's really good. Zelda says, Roxy, how has a pink room to match her pink gun, the item Roxy wanted on the Roxy Mark friend wedding registry? So Roxy, wait, what? So Roxy, who do you think you're closest to? Like you're in trouble and can only text one schmo. You're texting Mark or Harloff. I don't understand the whole first part about the pink room to match the pink gun. I missed something there, but if I'm in trouble, who am I texting? Well, I think that Christian would say, can you wait? I'm with the kids for dinner. Right. And I think that Mark would actually show up. So definitely Mark.
I'll tell you what Christian would say,
during this exact event that we have been here, I'm calling the show an event, Christian has called me 2 times. So, if he... I do that. If I needed him, he would come. I'm not going to ask him for help, and I think Mark would just be able to tell that I needed help. Like,
I would just show up. What I think you can come in. What I think would happen is you would text him, and then he would tell you, "Oh, hey, that sounds like a real problem." Text Ellis, yes.
That sounds like him. Yeah, that sounded about right. Leonard Kim says, what is in each of your ideal burgers? Also, Roxy, did my Patreon question go through? Yeah, I will say that Leonard Kim, just so we can get these both in, are burgers. And then also said, I wish you all the best on your trek across. I wish you all the best on your trek across the country as you enrich people's souls with comedy and laughter. Wanted to know if we had a preference on where you're or you had a preference, Mark, on where you're slotted in your lineup, or if you're okay going on stage any point. So, ideal burger and lineup preferences.
Oh, that's such an easier question. I thought you said, what does Mark want in his ideal partner? And I'm like, oh, that's a...
No.
But burgers, actually, the partner's easier too. Just let me watch football on Sundays and I'm good.
So
for the burger, I'll do, if I'm spoiling myself, I usually don't do cheese anymore, but I'll throw some cheese on there. I'll get some bacon, and the burger, I like the burger well done. I can do steak medium. I like the burger well done. I want some pickles. I want some ketchup and some mustard. It's a classic all-American bacon burger. And then for where I am in the lineup, I'm just happy to be on a lineup. Now, I know how to game plan for each scenario, but it's fun doing any of it. And when I get to follow somebody who's great, which you have the luxury of doing a lot, it's such a challenge. It is such a test. But if you're not testing yourself every night, then you're getting soft. And I don't want to get soft, Rox. I want to get hard, like my cat.
I've never met somebody. That was amazing. I've never had somebody who's just so happy in so many places. Like, you like what you do. You just want to do it no matter where it is, when it is, what order it's in. Like, other people are a little picky about that. And you're kind of just like, I tell jokes. Let me do that for the people who want to listen to them. Whatever that means. That's fucking cool.
Yeah, I mean, you fight and scrap for opportunity long enough to where you realize that you can pull it off in any given situation is to some degree of competence, and so I like a good challenge. There's nights when I'm like, oh man, I'd really love to go in this particular slot, but if you can't adjust to what is going on, or you can't surf or roll with the changes, as REO Speedwagon would say, then you're missing a tool in your kit that you really need.
2 more on the Streamlabs, and then we have to let Mark go. Pink Sweet says, oh, hi. Ted Lasso Season 2 is out, and I can't even start it because I don't want it to end. LOL. You watching any shows, Mark? Have a good day.
I did make it through all of Ted Lasso. Very rare for me. I made it through The Mandalorians and I made it through Ted Lasso.
Did you see the first episode of season 2 of Ted Lasso last night?
I did not. No, I'm probably going to wait until they're all out, and then I can just watch one after another because it's so hard to say goodbye to that community after just 30 minutes each week.
It's so good.
I have it on good authority because I have a couple friends that they did a premiere a couple weeks ago, that there's something in either episode 1 or 2 that I'm really going to love is what I was told. So I don't know if that. I don't know. You can spoil it if there's like a Van Halen reference or something. Then that's what I assumed it was.
I don't want to spoil anything. I've only seen one episode. But you want to know what I learned about this? I saw all season 1, but I watched the first episode of season 2 last night. This is what I learned, which I didn't know. The girl from Game of Thrones, shame. Who fucking knew? That's the girl in Ted Lasso. I was shook.
It blew my mind because I learned that or figured it out one or the other halfway through my watching of season 1, and
she's so hot.
You talk about range.
Whoa. So anyway, Mandalorian, you did. Ted Lasso. Anything else that you're watching right now?
No, I'm gearing up to torture myself with Hard Knocks, even though they're doing the stupid Cowboys this year again. So I just love that show so much.
Yeah, it is. It is a good show, but that's tough. Jake Yacovetta says, Mark, any plans yet for a comedy show spectacular weekend? We have beers to drink, sir. We
do have beers to drink.
That's what he said, and that's our response to that.
Our differing light beers. Yeah, we got something for you. It's called the Spectacular for a reason. You can't encompass everything in a spectacular just one day, right? So we'll have some fun.
If God didn't build the planet in 7 days, 8 days, how long did he take? Then spectacular.
I think he only took 6 because then he rested on the 7th day.
He rested. Done. But that's part of the building process is the rest. 7 because of the days of the week. Oh, rocks. That was tough for you, girl. Okay, last one. Glenn Caesar says, everyone who shows up to give their support whenever, however they can, even when it gets tough, even by yourself, you're not alone. Everyone who's battling, keep on fighting because you're a winner. Every win for you is a win for all of us. Glenn, you always say the nicest things on the show, and I really appreciate you. I also really appreciate you, Mark Ellis, for coming back on the show. Mark Ellis, everybody. Look at the live studio audience of me.
It has just been a delight as always. I forgot to ask you one crucial question, Rox. How you doing? We started, and I feel like I didn't get to talk to you at all.
So fast because I saw the Wake Forest 2.1 and was just like, I don't know. I feel like GPA has nothing to do with how smart somebody is, so I know better. But I just feel like you're really good at things. Like I've never seen you not be good at something. Maybe just because you only do what you do, and then from there on, I didn't stop.
If you've never seen me be bad at anything, then you and I are hanging out just the right amount. And that's exactly
what are you bad at?
A lot of stuff.
No way. No way.
I need to clip my nails. I should probably do that before I fly.
Not as bad as fucking Riley's nails all the time. Riley's nails are claws.
That's like he's like intervention level.
We should talk. We gotta sit him down again. Riley, we gotta call him again.
Unless they're made of adamantium, then we need to have a little sit down. But it is always good to see you. Please give my best to Grammy and Papo. I'm a huge fan, and I'm also a huge fan of you and your entire community that you've made. You've just been such a positive ray of light each and every freaking day since this dark cloud came over our world. So thank you for bringing that rainbow and being the pot of gold at the end of it. Roxy Stryer, ladies and gentlemen, give her a round of applause.
You calling me a leprechaun because I kind of am. I'm very small. Mark Ellis.live. That's where they can get tickets to the show tomorrow night.
Yep.
Which is at the Chris Cornell venue that you haven't invited me to, but I'm going to be there in spirit because Chris lives within me.
Pretty sure I got some text receipts that might differ with that.
If my stupid brother wasn't here, then I'd get on the stupid plane and come, okay?
Tell Jet I said hi, and tell Jet the Jess Slingett story because I don't think he knew it, so tell him that story.
I will. If he cared, he would watch the show. And that's what I say to anybody who doesn't watch. Thank you again to Mark Ellis, to all you guys at home for our closing arguments. As I'm just deciding to call them now. Mark, you're going to be like, what is this? Make your bed. Put down the toilet seat and lid because we don't want those paflumes. I don't know if you heard about the particles that get up, but they're in your nose. Really disgusting. You got to put down the
you got your
lid.
toothbrush and stuff.
Yeah, it's really gross. Don't trend with the Holocaust. Brett Miles, Jonathan, arrest the cops who killed Breonna Taylor. Check your internet. You can do so by blowing on it. And we will see you, or I will see you live at the Roxy on Sunday. Also, we're having Dorina's birthday party for the World Girls that night with you guys. So we're definitely going to have some things planned for her. If you want to get spooky and weird and sexy all at the same time, come join us on the World Girls Sunday night at 7. Much love, Mark, and to all you world friends and rock stars at home. Oh my God, the kiss you blew too.